Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Today I want to talk about something that is both deeply personal and universal, the story of a woman who supports her family. When we talk about support, we often think of strength, sacrifice, and unwavering resolve, but let's be real, support is messy. It's not always glamorous, and sometimes it's downright exhausting. Yet, it's in these moments that the truest definition of courage emerges. Courage doesn't always look the way we imagine it. It's not always about bold leaps, grand gestures, or heroic acts. More often than not, courage is quieter. It's the moment you get out of bed when everything in you says to stay under the covers. It's stepping into the day, knowing it will be full of challenges, but showing up anyway. For a woman who supports her family, courage is showing up when you're tired physically, emotionally, or even spiritually. It's walking into a tough conversation with a teenager who's struggling or a partner who's distant. It's facing bills that need to be paid, meals that need to be cooked, and the weight of everyone else's needs that sometimes feel heavier than you can bear. Courage is showing up at work when you're carrying the stress of home on your shoulders, and showing up at home when the pressures of work are eating away at you. It's pushing through when there's no one clapping for you, no one offering a break, and no one telling you you've done enough. But let me tell you, this showing up, even when it feels small, is a monumental act of bravery. Because when you show up, you say, this moment matters, my family matters, I matter. Showing up doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean you always get it right. Sometimes showing up means saying, I'm doing the best I can, and today that's enough. Courage is also about facing fear. Fear of failure. Fear of letting people down. Fear of not being enough. And instead of letting that fear paralyze you, it's saying, I see you, fear. You can ride in the car with me, but you don't get to drive. It's about holding the tension between what's hard and what's meaningful. Because being a woman who supports her family is hard, but it's also one of the most meaningful roles you can play. And here's the thing about courage, it's contagious. When you show up, even in your hardest moments, you teach your family what it means to be resilient. You show them how to navigate life's messiness with grace. Your courage inspires others, your children, your partner, your friends to find courage within themselves. So when you feel like showing up isn't enough, remember this, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Your family doesn't need you to have it all figured out. They need to see you try. They need to see you keep going. Courage is not about being unbreakable. It's about being willing to show up, even when you feel broken. That's where real strength lies, not in perfection, but in persistence. Showing up is hard, but it's also the bravest thing you can do. And every time you do, you prove that courage isn't something you find, it's something you choose. Over and over again. You may not feel like a hero, but trust me, to the people who matter most, you already are .as women. Especially those who support and care for others. We often hold ourselves to impossibly high standards. We are trained by society or by personal experience to give to others, to our families, to our communities. We pour out our energy, our love, and our patience without hesitation. And that's beautiful. It's powerful. It's selfless. But here's the thing. You deserve that same grace. You deserve the same understanding, the same kindness, the same forgiveness you so freely offer to others. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love, compassion, and care. And yet, how many times do we find ourselves slipping into the trap of thinking that we need to earn grace, or that we have to be flawless to deserve it? We all know that life isn't perfect. We all know that we're going to have moments when we fall short, when we make mistakes, when we lose our patience or forget something important. We all know that the weight of everything can feel crushing, and sometimes we might just fail. But in those moments, especially in those moments, you need to remind yourself, you are enough, even when you're not at your best. How many times have you been kind to someone else who is struggling, offering them words of encouragement, reminding them that they are doing their best and that it's okay not to have it all together? How many times have you told someone you don't have to be perfect or you're doing great, just keep going. Now, I want you to say that to yourself. Say it aloud, say it quietly in your heart, and believe it. Grace means accepting that you won't always have it all together. It means recognizing that you are human, just like the people you care for. And just as you give others the benefit of the doubt, you need to give it to yourself. Just as you forgive others, you need to forgive yourself. Self-compassion isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, we burn out. Without it, we're unable to truly show up for the people we love because we're too busy criticizing ourselves, too busy striving for a version of ourselves that doesn't exist. We chase after perfection instead of embracing the beauty in imperfection. Think about this. How often do you push yourself harder than you would ever push someone else? How many times have you stayed up late, sacrificed your own sleep, or neglected your own needs because you felt like you should do more? But what if instead of demanding more from yourself, you allowed yourself the grace to rest, to stumble, to ask for help? The reality is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot be the rock for everyone else if you are not first a source of care and compassion for yourself. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to show up with a heart that is willing to try, and that is enough. It's time to stop being your own harshest critic. You have permission to be gentle with yourself, just as you are gentle with others. You are deserving of the same love, understanding, and compassion you so freely give to those around you. So today, I challenge you, when you make a mistake, when you feel exhausted, when you feel like you failed, remember that grace is not just for others, it's for you too. You are worthy of the same kindness, the same forgiveness, and the same love that you offer so abundantly to others. Because at the end of the day, the most powerful thing you can give to your family and to the world is a woman who is whole, who is kind to herself, who has the strength to be vulnerable, and who knows that she deserves just as much grace as she gives at first glance. Boundaries may seem like something that separates us, something that keeps people at a distance, but in reality, boundaries are not walls, they are bridges. They are the way we protect what matters most, including our time, our energy, and our well-being. And when it comes to being a woman who supports her family, setting boundaries is one of the most loving and powerful things you can do, not only for yourself, but for the people you care about. Boundaries are an act of self-respect. They're a statement that you matter, that your needs are valid, that your energy is precious and should not be depleted without thought and care. Often we believe that loving others means giving and giving without limits. We think that if we say no, we're being selfish, or that if we don't stretch ourselves thin, we're not doing enough. But the truth is, without boundaries, we risk losing ourselves entirely, and when that happens, we cannot be our best for anyone else. Loving yourself enough to set boundaries means that you recognize you are worthy of respect for your time, your emotions, your space, and your mental health. And when you practice this self-respect, you show your family what true love looks like, a love that is generous, but also protective of what keeps you whole. Here's what often gets misunderstood about boundaries. They are not about rejecting or punishing others. They are about protecting the relationship. When you set clear, healthy boundaries, you create a space where trust, mutual respect, and understanding can thrive. Imagine a house. If you never take care of the foundation, it will eventually collapse. Similarly, your boundaries are the foundation of your relationships. Without them, the house of love you're trying to build will become unstable, and both you and your loved ones may find yourselves overwhelmed and resentful. Boundaries are also about honoring your limits, not as a sign of weakness, but as a sign of wisdom. We all have limits, and they're there for a reason. If you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or stretched too thin, it's okay to say, I need a break. If someone is asking too much of you, it's okay to say, I can't do that right now. If someone is treating you in a way that feels disrespectful or unhealthy, it's okay to stand up and say, that's not acceptable. Setting boundaries means giving yourself permission to take up space. It's a declaration that your needs are not secondary to anyone else's, even if you love them dearly. Think about the people you love most. Do you want them to burn out, to lose themselves, to sacrifice their well-being in the name of love? No, you want them to be healthy, balanced, and strong. You want them to have the energy and clarity to be present with you, to share their love with you, and to live their lives with joy. And this is exactly what boundaries do. They preserve your ability to give and love in the most sustainable way. Setting boundaries also models for those around you how to set boundaries for themselves. Children, for example, learn by watching. If you constantly overextend yourself and neglect your own needs, you're teaching them that their needs don't matter, that they must give at the expense of their own well-being. But when you show them how to create and maintain healthy boundaries, you teach them that love involves both giving and protecting what's sacred. You teach them the importance of saying no when necessary, of prioritizing self-care, and of respecting others' space. It's also important to remember that boundaries are not fixed. They can be flexible and evolve over time. What works for you in one season of life might change in another. And that's okay. Boundaries are dynamic, and they need to be reassessed as life shifts. What matters is that you stay in tune with your needs and communicate those boundaries clearly without guilt. In practice, boundaries can look like many things. Saying no to extra commitments when you already have too much on your plate. Asking for time to recharge when you're feeling emotionally drained. Turning off your phone or stepping away from work when it's family time. Speaking up when you feel your needs aren't being heard. Giving yourself permission to say, I'm not okay without feeling like you have to immediately fix everything. Boundaries are love in action because they allow you to show up for others from a place of strength, not exhaustion. They give you the energy, the space, and the clarity to engage with your family in ways that are meaningful, thoughtful, and true. Without boundaries, love becomes transactional, where you give until you're empty. But with boundaries, love becomes regenerative. It fills you up so that you can keep giving, and it fosters healthy, respectful relationships. So if you're struggling with setting boundaries, remember it's not about being selfish. It's about loving yourself enough to protect what's sacred. It's about honoring your own needs so that you can show up fully for the people you care about. Boundaries are a reflection of the love you have for yourself, and that love will overflow into every relationship you cultivate. Ultimately, healthy boundaries allow for more connection, not less. They give your relationships the space to breathe, to grow, and to thrive. And when we set boundaries with love and respect, we honor the fullness of who we are, allowing us to be present, joyful, and whole in our most important roles. When we talk about a woman who supports her family, it's easy to focus entirely on the needs of others, the children, the partner, the extended family, the home. And while support is, without a doubt, a noble and crucial part of being in a family, there's another vital element that often gets overlooked: your dreams. Your dreams are not something to put on the shelf because you've become a mother, a partner, a caregiver. They are not something that should be sacrificed for the sake of your family's needs. In fact, your dreams are an integral part of the story, your family's story, your story, and the stories of everyone you love. We often hear about selflessness, about how a woman who supports her family should put herself last. But I'm here to tell you that when you set aside your dreams, you are doing a disservice to everyone, including the very people you're trying to support. Your dreams are the fuel that keeps you going, the spark that lights up the mundane moments of everyday life. They are what inspire you, what challenge you to grow, and what keep your spirit alive. They are not indulgent fantasies, they are the core of who you are. And when you allow yourself to pursue them, you show your family the importance of living authentically and passionately. You give them the gift of seeing someone unapologetically chase their purpose, and that in itself can be a powerful lesson. I think about it this way: when you nurture your dreams, you become a fuller, more complete person. You become someone who has her own sense of identity outside of the roles you play in your family. You set an example for your children, for your partner, and for anyone who looks up to you, that it's okay to want more for yourself. It's okay to pursue your passions. It's okay to believe that you deserve to have your own dreams realized, just as much as anyone else in the family. Your dreams also help to create a balanced, thriving household. They remind you that you are more than the sum of your tasks. You are an individual with hopes, goals, and desires that deserve to be nurtured. When you pursue these dreams, whether they are career-oriented, creative, educational, or personal, you recharge. You gain a sense of fulfillment that not only benefits you, but ripples out to everyone you care for. You become more energized, more engaged, and more connected with the people you love. But I understand that pursuing your dreams while supporting your family can feel overwhelming. You might worry about not having enough time, energy, or resources. The truth is, you don't need to drop everything and make your dreams your full-time job right away. Small steps matter. Maybe it's setting aside time on weekends for a project you've been putting off, or waking up early to work on a skill you've been wanting to develop. It might be having a conversation with your partner about your aspirations and carving out space in your life to explore them. Your dreams don't have to be in competition with your family's needs, in fact. They can coexist and even flourish alongside them. And here's a key point: your dreams matter because you matter. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to justify your desires. Just by virtue of being you, unique, passionate, and driven, you have the right to chase what lights you up. That's a lesson worth teaching your family. To pursue your dreams is not a selfish act. It's a celebration of the fullness of life. You are allowed to want, to grow, and to experience joy beyond the duties of family life. When you make space for your own dreams, you are also teaching your family that it's okay to honor their own aspirations. You give them permission to follow their own paths, to find out what excites them, and to pursue their own goals with the same intensity that you bring to yours. You create a culture of self-respect, ambition, and growth in your family, a culture where everyone's dreams are valued, including your own. Your dreams may evolve over time. What excites you today might look different in a few years, and that's okay. Dreams are not static, they are living, breathing reflections of who you are at each stage of your life. The key is to keep checking in with yourself and honoring whatever that next chapter is. Your dreams don't need to be grandiose or perfect to matter, they simply need to be yours. They are your soul's calling, the piece of you that makes you feel alive, and they belong in the story of your family just as much as the daily grind. So let me say this: never apologize for having dreams. Never downplay them or put them aside because the needs of others seem urgent. Your dreams are part of the story of who you are, the story of how your family grows, and the story of how love and ambition can coexist beautifully. Your dreams are just as important as the love you give. They are the heartbeat that keeps you alive, and they deserve to be nurtured, supported, and celebrated. When you embrace them, you not only enrich your own life, but inspire everyone around you to do the same. And that in itself is a gift to your family, a gift that will keep giving for years to come. When we think about legacy, we often think about tangible things: property, wealth, achievements, or even the marks we leave on the world. These are important, of course, but the true legacy you leave behind is not measured in things. It is measured in the love you give, the love you share, and the way that love shapes the lives of those who are lucky enough to know you. As a woman who supports her family, you may find yourself caught up in the busyness of life, the tasks that need to be completed, the roles you must fulfill, and the constant juggling that can often feel overwhelming. But when all is said and done, the greatest legacy you leave will not be the things you've done or the checklist of accomplishments you've ticked off. It will be the love you've shown, the love that has been the foundation of every act of care, every sacrifice, and every moment of connection. This love is the thread that weaves everything together. It's in the moments when you simply show up for your family, even when it's hard. It's in the quiet acts of kindness, the words of encouragement, the way you show up in the small, everyday moments. It's in the laughter, the shared meals, the hugs, and even the tears. These seemingly insignificant acts of love are what create the fabric of a life well lived. Love is not just an emotion, it is a choice. Every time you choose to show up, even when you're exhausted or unsure, you're making a choice to love. Every time you take a moment for yourself, recognizing that your needs matter, you're choosing love for yourself and for those you care about. Every time you forgive, whether it's yourself or someone else, you are building a legacy of loved one that teaches those around you the power of resilience, grace, and connection. Love is the foundation of everything you do. It's the invisible force that drives the care you give, the protection you offer, and the strength you find within yourself when the going gets tough. And love is transformative. When you love, you help others to see their own worth. You create an environment where people can thrive, where they feel seen, valued, and supported, and that ultimately is the greatest legacy you can leave behind. But here's the thing, love doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't have to get it right every time. The love you give doesn't need to be grandiose or without fault. In fact, it's the imperfection of love that makes it so human, so relatable. You are allowed to make mistakes, to be messy, to stumble, and your family will remember not just the moments you were strong, but also the moments you showed up despite your vulnerability. This is the love that resonates deeply with the people you support. It's real, raw, and authentic. Consider the generations before you. What did they leave behind? Chances are it wasn't just material possessions or grand achievements. It was the love they shared, the values they instilled, the lessons they taught, and the way they made others feel. Those things live on even after they are gone. And in the same way, the love you give today will live on in the hearts and memories of your family. It will be passed down, shared, and carried forward in ways that you may never fully see, but you can rest assured that it will be felt. The legacy of love is also about creating a safe space for others to love freely. When you set boundaries, practice self-care, and show up as your authentic self, you model to your family what it looks like to love in healthy ways. You teach them that love isn't just about sacrifice, it's about balance, respect, and self-compassion. You show them that love is not something to be earned or conditional, it is unconditional, steadfast, and enduring. And that is the kind of legacy that lasts. As a woman who supports her family, you may often feel like you're giving so much of yourself, but the beauty of love is that it doesn't run out. The more you give, the more you have to offer. And in giving, you also receive. Your love creates ripples flowing out into your family, your community, and beyond. Your legacy isn't in how much you give, but in how much you give, but in how much you give with love. It's in the way you make others feel valued, understood, and supported, and in how you inspire them to do the same. When you reflect on the life you've led, I hope you'll see that your legacy is not in the things you've achieved, but in the way you loved, in the hugs that were given, in the words of encouragement that were spoken, in the grace and compassion you extended to others. This is what your family will remember, what they will carry forward, and what will continue to inspire future generations. Your legacy is love, and it is a legacy that will live on long after you're gone. So remember this, the true measure of your life is not in what you accomplish or what you accumulate. It's in the love you give. That's the story you're writing. That's the legacy you're building. And that is the most enduring, powerful thing you can ever leave behind. As we reflect on all the ways we show up for our families, the work we do, the sacrifices we make, it's important to remember that our worth is not measured by what we do, but by how we love. The legacy we leave is not in the things we accumulate, but in the hearts we touch, the kindness we share, and the way we show up imperfect, vulnerable, and always ready to give our love. So to every woman who supports her family, know that your dreams matter, your boundaries matter, and above all, your love matters. You are enough, just as you are. The love you give is shaping the future, and it will live on long after you're gone. Every moment of care, every act of grace, every piece of yourself that you give to the people you love is creating a legacy that will be felt for generations to come. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have it all figured out to make a difference. All you need is to love with all your heart in the best way you know how. And that love is the greatest gift, the greatest legacy you could ever leave. Thank you.